This is the Caretaker, and you are listening to The Graveyard Show.
Welcome to the Graveyard.
And welcome to another edition of the Graveyard Show podcast. I am your Caretaker, and the graveyard is open. We are getting such fantastic weather here in Los Angeles right now. It has been absolutely beautiful. Now, I know there are some of you out there that are like, come on, Caretaker, it's Los Angeles. It's always nice. It's sunny. It's warm. And no, that's not what I'm referencing. It has been kind of the exact opposite. I mean, not all the time, but it has been overcast. It's been cool. It's been a little misty some mornings. You know, warms up during the day, and then it drops right back down again. I'm talking, for LA at this time of year, 70 degrees, mid-60s. That's cold for September. I know there have been times leading into Halloween where, we've had get-togethers here in the graveyard, and we've had to turn the air conditioning on inside. It's been that warm outside. So, no, LA stays warm late. This is a little unusual, and it is awesome, and I am very grateful for it. It makes fall feel real. And when I grew up on the East Coast, come September, by mid-September, late September, it starts dropping. The temperatures kind of get cooler. You feel that little bit of cold in the air, a little breeze. It's beautiful. And this year we've been very fortunate here in LA. We're getting some actual fall-like weather, and it is great leading into the Halloween season. And as you heard at the top of the show, me. Well, like I said on my previous podcast, in boxing and wrestling, they always say card is subject to change, and unfortunately, yes, the card is changing here. I did say 3 original interviews would be coming your way in September, October. Michael Joy, the CEO and owner of Marketing Macabre, was scheduled to be on this podcast. Unfortunately, we were just not able to make our schedules work where we could do the interview. We had some things on the books. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. These things happen. It's all good. I would love to have Michael on the program down the road. It's just that scheduling right now for me is so tight, both in and out of the graveyard. For September, October, I just had to, unfortunately, move forward and just put up sort of a generic podcast while I get everything else going. I will get into, though, what has already been uploaded since my previous Graveyard Show podcast and what is to come on the next few shows. But first, some quick news. Freestyle Digital Media has acquired the North American theatrical rights and has set a theatrical release date for the new Mongolian horror movie called Aberrance. It's going to open on October 6th. The video on demand and digital release will be in 2024. This is the first Mongolian horror feature to be released theatrically in the United States, introducing Mongolian cinema to new audiences. The film had its North American premiere at the 2023 South by Southwest Film Festival to positive reviews as an official selection in the Midnighters section. You can find the trailer on the Graveyard Show podcast YouTube channel. It is a great trailer. And I'm not saying that because it's on my channel. It really is. It's a really effective trailer. I highly recommend you check it out. Aberrance is the name of the movie, and I'm going to get into more about the YouTube channel in just a moment. So last podcast, I was talking about how you're going to be having a whole new slew of interviews coming your way in the next few months, as well as a lot of the GYS classics and some other new material that's going to be just on the Graveyard Show podcast YouTube channel. And if you want to find me on YouTube, it's real simple. It's youtube.com/@Graveyard Show Podcast. @Graveyard Show Podcast is the handle. Now, recently, I've been uploading a lot of the GYS classics because, well, I have about 73 or 74 original Graveyard Show podcast episodes from 2009 and 10, and I've been uploading them little by little. But, the show returned here on online in 2019. And I think it's the first 16 Tombstones were old interviews, because I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do, if I just wanted to feature old interviews or if I wanted to do new stuff. And when the pandemic happened, a lot of us were just kind of, locked in. It just made sense for me to start doing original interviews again. And what happened was, I think it's around Tombstone 17, the original interviews started happening, and then all the old Graveyard Show interviews turned into GYS Classics. So since my last Graveyard Show podcast, we have had numerous Graveyard Show Classic uploads. One is The Undertaker, who was my fill-in host back in the day. His interview with Rick Bates, otherwise known as Dr. Ivan Cryptosis, the horror host. Also, The Undertaker's interview with Wolfman Mac, otherwise known as Mac Kelly. And he is the horror host of Chiller Drive-In. Also, you have my interview with Shannon Lark and Stacy Ponder. Shannon was the 2009 Fangoria Spooks model, and Stacy Ponder is a filmmaker and blogger. They came on back in 2010, and it's a two-part interview, and it is definitely worth your time. They talk about, on part one, the making of their film Ludlow, and then the infamous interview in part two for their film Lipstick. And it does not disappoint. So you have those that have just been uploaded. Of course, you have more coming your way very soon. There's going to be a GYS Classic interview with The Undertaker and Carlos Borloff, the horror host from Monster Madhouse, coming up. That will be released on October 3rd. And then on October 13th, Friday the 13th, there's going to be my interview with Stuart Hopewell, who was the director of the movie Slaughter. It was one of the 8 films to die for in 2009, and the last interview that I did with those directors. It's the third and final interview that I did. I interviewed Faden Papa Michael, who directed From Within, and Adam Girosh, the director of the movie Autopsy. Those were the 3 directors I interviewed for the 2009 After Dark Horror Fest, 8 films to die for. Now, Stuart's interview was actually Graveyard Show podcast number 2, coming to us from January 8th, 2009. And going back and listening to that interview, I had forgotten. He tells this amazing story about being kidnapped in Brazil, and it is just chilling. So that podcast, actually, when I upload that, it's going to be the entire original Graveyard Show podcast number 2, uncut, uninterrupted, as they used to say, and it's going to be as if you were listening to it back in January of 2009. In all of its glory. Now, on YouTube, if you are a YouTube subscriber, you would have gotten even more content since my last podcast. So there is a bunch of movie trailers that I uploaded. One, I mentioned the movie earlier, Aberrance, as well as the trailer for the new film Suitable Flesh, which is the H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, directed by Joe Lynch, starring Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton, who's also one of the producers of the movie. Also uploaded a trailer for the new movie The Bellkeeper, as well as Onyx the Fortuitous and The Talisman of Souls, which has both Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton in that film, which was written, directed, and starring Andrew Bowser. You can find all those trailers on the Graveyard Show podcast YouTube channel, and you can find the trailer for the new coffee table book, In Search of Tomorrow, which of course is based on the 1980s super documentary directed by David Weiner. Hey, you know what? Speaking of David Weiner is going to be on the next Graveyard Show podcast, which is going to be coming to you in just a few days. He's going to be joining me to talk about his latest film, In Search of Darkness, 1990 through 1994. Now, if you're not familiar with the In Search of Darkness films and you have Shudder, I believe they are still streaming on there. In Search of Darkness was the three-part super documentary on 1980s horror. Each movie's about 5 hours plus, so you're getting about 15 plus hours of documentary on 1980s horror. It is awesome, and he's going to be talking about what the 1990s version is going to be. Speaking of which, on my YouTube channel as well, I did a video on what movies I would like to see featured in the In Search of Darkness 1990 through 1994 film. David and I are going to talk about that on the next podcast. He will give me some thoughts about the movies that I did select as well. You're not going to want to miss that. So there you have it. You have a bunch of information, a bunch of content right there for you. Please, if you're new and you haven't checked it out, go check it out. At Graveyard Show Podcast is the handle on YouTube. For all that great information. If you're a podcast subscriber, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. The subscriptions that have been growing on YouTube. I've gotten a new slew of subscribers. I'm really pleased about that. And I always appreciate when somebody takes the time not only to view and comment on my videos, but also subscribe as well. This is a grassroots project, folks. This is not on social media. I'm not on social media. It's just word of mouth. So thank you all for your time joining me here in the graveyard on my podcast as well as on YouTube. And I always look forward to your comments on YouTube as well. And those of you that have commented know that I'm fairly quick at replying on there as well. And you never know where you'll find me on YouTube as well. Sometimes I hit up 1980s wrestling video sites and comment there, or you never know, maybe a Kiss video or something. You just never know where I'm going to comment on YouTube. All right, that's going to do it for me. Like I said, stay tuned. Oh, and Catacombs of Horror, the new edition is coming soon. I'm going to be doing it on my favorite scenes from the 1970s vampire film Blackula. I'm hoping to have it done by the time Halloween rolls around, but you just never know. Got a lot going on here and trying to fill a whole lot in. Oh, and on October 1st on YouTube, you can find the Halloween loop that I created last year called The Caretaker's Graveyard. I took it off after Halloween last year, and it's going to be back on the YouTube channel starting October 1st. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can find it. Just go back a year, and it's I believe it's still there. So you can get that, and if you want to use it for Halloween, it's yours. Do with it as you will. All right, I will see you very soon, my friends, and enjoy the Halloween season as we get deeper and deeper into September, into October. I look forward to seeing and hearing from you all very soon, and as you exit the graveyard, I would like to remind you to please lock the gate behind you. We wouldn't want anyone to get out. Until next time.